One of the biggest killers of your business is perfectionism. Perfectionism is something that I see so many business owners get caught up in, of waiting until something is perfect before they put it out into the world, of editing a design for hours in Canva before they even share it, if they ever do, or waiting until their course is perfect before they share it out there, or waiting until they know everything before they can help someone. Thinking that you need to have something perfect before it can get out there in the world is stopping you from growing your business, and I want to share with you why. Thankfully, I don't think I would class myself as a perfectionist, and I think if I did, my business would be half the size that it is today and half as successful as it is today, because I haven't let perfectionism get in my way most of the time. And I want to share with you today some tips, some tools, and some ways that you can make sure perfectionism does not stop your business from growing, and especially inside that design area as well. I see too many business owners get caught up in feeling like their designs and their branding and everything needs to be perfect before they can show up, and that is simply not true. So we're going to dive into that now. So I want you to think back to a time in your business where you have just not pressed go on something because you felt like it wasn't quite perfect yet. Maybe you had a really great idea for a social media post and you got into Canva and you started making it, but you just couldn't quite get it to look the way that you wanted. Or maybe you wanted to share or pitch yourself to some organization or business or podcast, but you didn't do that in the end because you were too nervous that what you had and the way that you could show up wasn't quite perfect yet. Or maybe you had a wonderful course idea, but it never actually has seen the light of day and been able to help anyone because you didn't get it exactly how you wanted to, and that one module wasn't quite right. Perfectionism is such a killer in business because truth of the matter is you're rarely ever going to create something that's perfect. And if you wait until you do create something perfect, you'll probably be waiting a really long time. And I'd hate to see the goodness that you have inside your brain and the goodness that could help others be stunted because you're waiting for it to be perfect before you share it. And I get it, like perfectionism is so normal. We fear failure. We fear if we had have actually just waited and got that better and we launched it, then it would be more successful. Or if we worked harder and longer on that post or on that course or on that presentation, then it would do better, it would perform better, it would help more people, it would do all the things magical in our brain that we just think is the bee's knees. But what happens when we wait is that we never put it out there in the first place, and we never get that success from it. We never get to help the person you wanted to help because you're wanting it to be perfect before it could do that. So let's talk about some of the negative effects of perfectionism. And I say all of this out of love because most business owners that I work with, they really feel this. And it's such a real, strong, palpable feeling when you just think, I just can't do this properly and I'm just going to give up. I can't put it out there. I can't do this until it's perfect. And so let's just build, I guess, a little bit of proof today of why you need to make sure that things aren't perfect before you share them. In fact, that could really be your motto of, I don't want to find perfect. I just want to be able to share it. That's not a good motto. I wouldn't recommend that, but surely there'll be another one out there. If you think of a really great one, let me know in the comments. And so a clear negative effect of perfectionism is wasted time and resources. If you are spending hours and hours and hours refining something to just be that smidgen more perfect, then that's usually not a good use of your time. In some cases, this is the case. Like if you're a doctor, this isn't for you. If you're a doctor and you're honing like how you're going to do someone's stitches better, that's great. Please get perfectionistic at that. But if you're like me and your career doesn't have like a lifelong effect on someone's well-being, then you don't need to have things perfect. This is even for a doctor. If you're doing a social media post, that doesn't need to be perfect, you know? So sometimes I see business owners, they spend more time than's necessary on a particular social media post or a particular design or a particular program or product than what's going to give them any return for their effort. So say, for example, you have a really great idea for a carousel post. You could spend half an hour making that carousel post what it needs to be and putting it out there into the world. And it gets pretty good traction. Or you could spend 4 hours making that carousel and going around in your head trying to get it absolutely perfect, posting it out there, and maybe it will get one extra like. Was that one extra like or that one extra ounce of engagement, was that worth the extra 3.5 hours you spent on that design? Probably not. And so what we need to do instead is work out where is a good line, where is good enough so that I can post this and move on with more important tasks in my business. And so that's clearly not a great use of your valuable time and resources. So that's one downside of perfectionism, is this idea of we're wasting our time and our resources. Another downside is missed opportunities. If you are waiting for your business to be perfect before you contact that lead or before you pitch for that podcast or before you ask someone to collaborate with you or whatever it is, if you're waiting for things to be perfect before you do that, you're missing out on opportunities. For all you know, you could have pitched that podcast and they might have still accepted you. And if they didn't, that's okay. I'm going to get onto why that's okay very, very soon. And thirdly, perfectionism can stunt your growth. Like I mentioned before, if you had a really great course idea, but you never actually launched said course idea, then you wouldn't never get it out there. Like I just can't imagine, for example, my course DIY Design My Biz, it's a self-paced course and I've run that course for almost 4 years, nearly 4 years. And if I had have waited until that is it more than 4 years? Is it 5? I think it might be 5 years. Anyway, if I had have waited until that course was perfect or even actually finished before I launched it, it would not be where it is today. It's brought in over 6 figures into my business, but I can guarantee if I was waiting for that to be perfect, I still wouldn't have launched it. And just to give you a secret, like I didn't even finish the course when I launched it. I finished an outline of like, I think this is what the modules could be. And when I launched it, I let people know what the modules would be. And then I sold it and people joined my program. And then I run that program live. And each week I'd have a call for the program. And the weeks before I launched each call, that's when I would work on the content. I would literally be finishing off the content an hour before I actually ran that call. And that, like, the content was great. I knew what the outline was going to be. Everyone still loved the program and they got what they were promised, but I didn't have to have the course finished or perfect before someone was able to join it. And again, if you're a doctor and things are like there's like life and death situations happening with your business, you can ignore this. But if your business is like mine and things don't actually need to be perfect to be successful, just go for it. Bite the bullet, take the step, do the thing and see what happens. I could even say the same thing about my YouTube channel. Like, it is absolutely so far from perfect. One video I shared, it literally had lights flickering in the background, and that has been one of my best performing videos. Part of me wishes now that I didn't share that and I did fix it up. But the fact of the matter is sometimes things that aren't perfect do still do really, really well. And so try not to get yourself caught up in this perfectionism. It may be stunting your growth. And then in terms of the design process, I see perfectionism play out so many times. So you've got the business side and we've also got the design side. And so how this might play out is you might start to overcomplicate your designs. If you're really worried about getting things perfect, chances are you're thinking that you need to do more than you need to. I actually used to have this one. I felt like if the design wasn't really full and had lots of different things going on, that I hadn't tried hard enough or put enough effort into it. And so I needed to overcomplicate the design to make it actually worthy of people looking at it, which is totally incorrect, because usually designs that are simpler actually perform better because they've got a clear level of hierarchy and they're not feeling too busy and overwhelming for people. And so oftentimes business owners are like, oh, I need to do this and this and this and this, and my graphic needs to have more and be perfect. When you do this, the design actually usually performs less well because you tried to overcomplicate it, whether that's adding in more text, whether that's adding in more elements because you think it needs to be more interesting and fancy. It doesn't. Usually simpler, the better. It also leads to a lack of authenticity in your designs. If you're feeling like it needs to be something like really fancy and perfect, chances are, if you're like me, you actually aren't perfect. And so striving for this perfectionism inside your designs is actually making you create things that aren't authentic to you. You're creating things that you think that it should be rather than what it actually needs to be an extension of what you are as a business, especially if you are a personal brand. And it can also mean that you don't want to make mistakes. And when you're doing designs and you're afraid of making mistakes, it means you actually are less likely to experiment and find the right solution. When I was in university studying design, one of my lecturers, he said to me, he was like, which is one of the main things I remember from uni, he used this phrase called happy accidents. And it was this idea that oftentimes we stumble across the right design through an accident. We're just playing around, we're moving things here and there, we're trying different colors, we're trying weird fonts, we're trying different placements of different things. And it's in that process that we usually find the right layout or the right font or the right color combination. It's not usually because we're like got this perfect idea in our head and we try perfectly to output it perfectly. I say perfectly any more times. If you strive for this perfection from the start, you're often going to be afraid of making mistakes, and those mistakes are usually what get you to the right result in the end. So don't be afraid of trial and error, experimenting and finding those happy accidents. So instead, I want you to embrace this idea of done is better than perfect. For anything in your business, done is better than perfect. For my course, I had it done. It wasn't perfect. I've continued to make iterations to it. And even today, there are so many things that I wish I could improve on it, but I don't have the capacity to right now. But even right now, as I'm talking to you, people are going through this program and they're getting helped. Even though I can see flaws in it, all they're seeing is I'm getting served. This is incredible content. I love it. I'm learning so much. But if I was to wait until it was perfect, put it out there, or I'm going to put it on a hiatus until I fixed all the mistakes, it would never get out there. And right now it's helping people. It's growing my business and it's growing other people's businesses. So I want to encourage you that you don't have to have things to be perfect for them to still be able to help people. Remember this motto of done is better than perfect. And that especially goes for your social media posts too, or any designs you're working on in your business. If you're spending hours and hours refining a post or refining a flyer or refining a presentation slide, whatever you're working on visually, work out where the point of done is better than perfect is. If you've got really great content in there, if your brand has been applied to it, if you've got a good level of hierarchy, it doesn't need to be 100% perfect to be great. Now, I'm going to talk always about how you need to use design principles and you need to have great strategic design in your business for it to do really well. But that's got to be held in tension with this idea that it doesn't need to be perfect. Like even today, I was talking to one of my students in the co-creation design club and she's like, Jacqui, I want to make sure I nail my brand before I do any more social media posts. And I said, no, that's not what we want. I want you to be showing up now imperfectly. And then once we nail your brand, then you can keep applying your new brand to the social media posts. Like ideally in a perfect world, we would have the perfect brand and apply the perfect brand to your social media posts from the get-go. But in essence, she can create great content now with design and branding that's pretty good. And then later on, when we finally refine her brand, then she can start applying that perfect brand to things. But in the meantime, in that window between now and when we actually finish the brand, she's still able to post content. She's still able to get traction on her business. She's still able to get eyeballs on her business, still able to share incredible content to her audience, even though that branding isn't perfect. And that means that when she launches her new brand, she's already got traction. And so don't get stuck in feeling like things need to be perfect before you can share. It's this idea of celebrating progress, of done is better than perfect, but progress is better. Almost progress is better than perfect. Because I want you to realize that imperfect progress can still help your business to grow. You don't have to wait for perfect progress. Imperfect progress will still grow your business. Another note around the actual design side of putting things out there for your business is instead of focusing on every tiny little nuanced piece in the design, making sure that you're actually just focusing on the overall brand as a whole. So say, for example, you want your brand to feel fun and playful. Focus on making sure that comes through your designs, and then focus on applying your branding to that rather than making sure that every single element is the exact perfect shape and exact perfect size. While that is important and I want you to learn and get better at those things, it doesn't need to be 100% perfect for you to actually post that post in the first place. Get the traction, and then next time you do a post, make it a little bit better. And then next time you do a post, make it a little bit better again. Focus on the overall brand vibe rather than focusing on every single tiny nuance bit being 100% perfect. And a great thing to note with this is that imperfect progress is actually going to help you find the best outcome. This is such a big point. If you are forcing yourself to come up with something perfect from the beginning, you're not going to find it because you don't know how to get there yet. You don't know the map. Whereas if you start from the start and just work on things imperfectly and make that progress, you're going to find a really great solution because you're allowing yourself to experiment. You're allowing yourself to post that post and seeing if it performed rather than working on something in secret for months and months and months, sharing it and then realizing it doesn't connect with your audience. If you share something and then refine, share, refine, or like whatever it is you're doing, do a little bit, put it out there, do a little bit and put it out there. Continue that refinement process because that's actually going to help you to create something better. Because striving for perfectionism is one of the biggest killers to creativity that I know. I can say even as a designer, when a client comes to me and I feel really quite nervous about working with them, I'm like, oh, I'm so nervous about getting this right. Like if someone was like a multi-billionaire dollar business and they came to me saying, Jacqui, I need you to create this absolutely perfect brand, I would feel really, really stuck. This idea of needing it to be perfect is going to actually stunt my creativity. So I really recommend allowing yourself to not feel like things need to be perfect because that's what's going to help your creativity to flow. It's going to help you to experiment. It's going to help you to get things wrong. And it's going to help you to find the ultimate right solution for your business rather than being stuck in this vortex of stressing about finding that perfect solution that you're not going to find when you're stressing about finding the perfect solution. So some actionable tips that you can use to help you to fight perfectionism is firstly to set yourself a timer. If you have a timer of some sort, I actually have a really great one. So this is a little timer that I have. It's like a gravity timer. So if I turn it over, I wonder if this will focus for you. Let's get it up for you. This is a little timer that I have. And pretty much if I turn it different directions, it changes the time. So this one's for 10 minutes. This one's for 30 minutes. And it's really great because it means I don't have to get my phone out to set a timer. And that's I'll link it below, but it's pretty much from an organization called the Habit Tracker, and it's just called a gravity timer. And they're so, so helpful. I'm using it for my business a lot now. But in essence, what I want you to do is set a timer, whether it's on your phone or on your computer or using one of these fancy timers, and making sure that you don't spend any longer on that than what's needed. So say for a social media post, work out how long a social media post should take you. Hopefully by the time, like say, if you worked with me and you've worked out how to do your design quite quickly, you've got your solid brand, you've got your templates, you've got your clarity, then hopefully a post will only take you 5 or 10 minutes. So you can set a timer for 10 minutes and think, all right, I'm going to get my template, I'm going to apply my text and put it out there, rather than spending time going around and round and round and round in circles trying to get it perfect. So setting yourself a timer when you're worried that perfectionism might creep in is a great tool. And for some of those bigger things, like say if you're thinking about launching a course or you're thinking about launching something or contacting someone to ask to be on their podcast, or whatever it is, like some of those bigger goals that you have, I recommend getting an accountability buddy, whether it's a business coach or a business friend or even like a husband, like someone in your life that you can say, by X date, I'm going to, and they need to be able to keep you accountable to this. By X date, I'm going to launch my course or contact this person or whatever. And that means that you can work towards refining if you want to, but in essence, moments, once you get to that date, just share it. Like, it's not going to be the end of the world. If that podcast person turns you down, there's other people to ask. If that course doesn't do so well, refine it and launch it again. Like, we put so much pressure on things to be perfect, but in essence, they don't need to be perfect, and we can refine. Like, it's not the end of the road. Again, if you're a doctor and you're doing heart surgery, get it perfect. But for the rest of us, I'm really just making sure I hone in on that. For the rest of us, it's okay if things aren't perfect, and it's okay if we make a mistake. It's okay if we get it wrong. Like, when I've launched things, like I was thinking about one time I launched a program, I think 3 times I got the call times wrong when I emailed people, and I was so frustrated at myself. But the fact is, it was okay. I made the mistake. No one asked for a refund because I was getting the times wrong 3 times. It was okay. Like, it wasn't ideal, but it was okay. And so perhaps get an accountability buddy and say, I want to do this X task by X date. Please keep me accountable to that. And just when you get to that date, do it as is. Launch it as is. If you haven't finished recording your course yet, launch it as is and record it as you go. Like, get it out there and do the thing. And lastly, I want to encourage you to celebrate progress. Progress is what's going to help your business to grow. Progress is what helps you to experiment. Progress is what helps you to learn from your mistakes and to grow even faster. That's a big point too, is perfectionism makes you grow slower because you can't learn as quickly and iterate as quickly. So try that as well. So I hope you found that one helpful. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, which tip you found the most useful for your perfectionism. Or if you're listening to me on the podcast, I'd love you to send me an Instagram message. My handle is whitedeargd, and let me know which tip made the most sense to you and which one you're going to implement, whether it's the timer or an accountability buddy or just posting the post. I'm going to give you this challenge right now. If right now you have a reel in your Instagram drafts or an Instagram posting in your Canva, post it today. Don't get it perfect, just post it today. Do it, give it your best shot, and then learn from that. Then next time you do a post, it will be slightly better. Learn from those mistakes and create that progress without the hindrance of perfectionism slowing you down. So thank you for listening. If you love this episode, feel free to chuck me a review on the podcast. I love seeing your reviews, and it helps the podcast to reach more incredible ears. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you next week for another episode. Bye.